And now we are moving on to next section. Now I invite Dr. Narasimha Murthy, SV, Assistant Professor of English, Presidency University, Bangalore, India. Uh, he will work as a moderator, and I hand over the section to you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Gino. Good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure and honor that I would love to introduce a very young but very energetic scholar, Dr. Abdul Rahim, who has made a very huge contribution in the field of international economics. When I look at his short biodata, I'm very surprised and honored to be a moderator for this scholar. And he has got a PhD in international economics from University Science Malaysia, and he has been teaching since 2008. He started his career as a graduate research assistant. At present, he is the associate professor at Faculty of Business and Management. What is most surprising is he has already produced 3 very interesting PhDs under his able guidance. More than that, his publications are very, very dear to me. He has got 6 Scopus and 4 Web of Sciences, and Google Scholar, 14 out of 807, and ResearchGate 12. And he has been a visiting professor, a visiting fellow, adjunct professor, outbound at various institutes in Turkey, Indonesia, and I feel that our scholars are privileged to have you with us, Dr. Abdul Rahim. And with this brief introduction, I'm unable to give his complete details, and I request him to continue the session. Over to you, Professor Abdul Rahim.
Thank you very much to the moderator, Dr. Narasimha. Okay. Good night to all from Malaysia. I am Dr. Abdul Rahim Rizwan. I am very pleased for the invitation for this sharing session, because this is a platform for me to share a bit of my experience, my passion, being an academician for the past 13 years, and being very passionate in doing research and lots of things as being academics. So through this platform, I am very pleased to be able to share with all of you who attend this session today. And just now I have get the opportunity to listen to Prof. Bala talk, okay, sharing session. And I feel that I'm very far behind him. There's so long way for me to reach his level. I have another 22 years of service. But yeah, there are some part of the characteristics that Prof. Bala just mentioned just now is somehow, when I reflect myself, I have it. Okay? When I recall how I, from just a researcher without not so much knowledge, have to depend on myself a lot of things, and I learn all the process, okay, until I reach to this stage now. But of course, the learning process never stop. Okay, despite I am a secondary data researcher, I agree with Prof. Bala that we have to not make ourselves comfortable in our own zone. So we have to always have the willingness to learn, to learn new things, like as what I did now, to explore the research in the primary, based on primary data analysis. And besides that, not only focusing on economics, but nowadays I also join a lot of research, high impact research, like focusing on something else that involve with business, entrepreneurships, or perhaps the one that more meaningful when we want to come up with the real policy for the countries. That one can fill up our passion as a researcher. So tonight, I would like to share a bit about the slides of what I have prepared for all of you, which is the strategies to publish in good journals. But I believe that some of you are better than me, okay, and maybe some of you are still learning, okay, being a postgraduate student, you need some guidance for those who are more experienced. So here I am like sharing my experience, okay, giving you some ideas, what I have go through, what are the strategies that I made in order for me to be able to publish in the high impact journals, and what kinds of networkings that I pursue so that I will easily get some benefits in terms of research grants. So there's a lot of things that we should share with you, but maybe just in within 30 minutes for this 30 slides, and then maybe after that we will have more Q&A sessions where I will pour in all my my opinion or whatever that I have space for all of you here. So let me show you my slides. Wait a second. I'm sorry for the sound. My kids it's already almost 10 p.m. here in Malaysia time, so they are get ready for sleep now because tomorrow is we have school. All right. I will show my slides. It's a simple slides that I prepared for today's sessions. And the topics is, I think, is quite common in whatever workshops that you found in outside. Either it is organized by university or by maybe from agency or something like that. Okay, but and this topic is very important for us as being academics, because research will enhance your the research. The identity of researcher is a must for every academicians. Okay, you have to, when you become a researcher, you will be a complete academics, okay, because some academics, they will just focus on teaching, for example, not into the research. As for me, I think it's not complete if you neglect research as part of your academic life. I think you will lose a lot of opportunity being academics in your life. Okay, so this slides comprising a bit about the strategies, but I'm sure that most of you already get the pictures of how to write a paper, a good paper one. So maybe some slide I will pass, but maybe I will much more interested in terms of Q&A session after this, so that it will be more universal kind of questions that I can try to answer from all of you. Okay, now when we look into this first slide, which is the introductions. Okay, the introductions of these sharing sessions. Okay, when we talk about publishing good paper and so on, an article or journal paper, as you see, is not the same as the technical reports or thesis or novel, for sure. Okay, because for the journal paper, you have a more specific objective that you want to focus on, that you want to clear in terms of the issues, and to test it using certain methods, and to come up with specific policy based on the findings. And suppose it is much more focused as compared to other types like technical report, which is much more in-depth, in more comprehensive, while for the thesis is much more detailed, okay, with specific research objective and so on. And if you see from a large research, even from a thesis writing that you produce, that you write, it can come up with several papers. Like my case, when I pursue my PhD in 2014 till 2017, I managed to come up with 8 papers for my thesis. My thesis got 3 research objectives. For information, my background is international economics. Okay, so how come I can come up with 8 papers for my 3 research objectives? Because as I said, when we come up with the research objective, of course, it must have also a specific modeling, okay, that you testify and you're able to generate an outcome. Okay, so all these models, either is 1 or 2 model or 3 model, in order to answer the specific research objective, could be transformed into a separate papers. So that's why you have to be creative. And when you write up your thesis writing, you should already know how for you to disaggregate all these research objectives into different papers. And you cannot do this at the end of your PhD journey. You have to start from the first year of your study. Like nowadays, we are popular with systematic literature review, SLR paper. So that's supposed to be our first paper output from our research, because we go through all the readings, LR. And then we have the RO1, RO2, RO3, and so on. So you have to strategize. Along, you write down your thesis writing. You also, as my case, have to ensure the model is correct in terms of the selections of the variables. It has the novelty, and of course, it has the sufficient data. Okay, the data availability is there. You cannot proceed the model if the data is not available. Okay, and then again, it is very beneficial if you have acquired a certain knowledge, a degrees of analysis, knowledge of analyzing of data before you pursuing your study. Because by having this specific knowledge of, for example, analysis, time series, or panel data, and so on, it will be easier for you to testify the model. Is it will be able to produce the result as what you want it to be? Okay, is it produce a novelty result, and so on? So this is it, the advantage of being a secondary data researcher, where we have the chances to collect, to come up with the models, to collect the data, and to testify the model earlier, even before proposal defense. So that is my case. Okay, before my proposal defense, already complete my data analysis for all my research objectives, completing all. It's just the matters of getting the green light from my proposal defense, and then I continue writing. But before that, all the data is already put into in order, or in the tables that I create specifically for these writings. So you have to know that being the secondary data researcher, we have the advantage, because we don't have to go through the long process as a primary data user, where we have to construct a questionnaire, the validation from the expert, and then you have to go to the field work and so on. So you have that ability, or you have that special, that you can skip that part. Okay, so goes back to your special, to your area of your study, and which types of study that you want to pursue, either qualitative or quantitative, either you are pursuing primary or pursuing secondary, not being told by someone else, but by your own, your interest. That is the most important one. Okay, now, many journals impose a limit on the numbers of words, therefore cut down the storytelling. So somehow for the thesis, right, for the journal article, you don't write too long. When you write down the introduction, it must be very specific in terms of the theme, the issue. Okay, must be relevant one. If you want to go for the high impact journal, the issue must be very up to date, address a crucial one. There's a sense of urgency. Then it will attract the reviewer to continue reading your article, and maybe perhaps they will proceed to the reviewing process. Okay. And of course, the maturity of writing is come with the years of experience. So even me, last time, 10 years ago, I still have the issues of writing. A style of my writing is still not matured enough. So that's why it's hard for me to get my paper published in Scopus Index Journal or WS at that time. Okay, because like research is actually a process. Okay, it's a process that you upgrade yourself from time to time. Maybe some of the student is blessed with they have the ability or to write well, to know construct very good papers. Maybe he is best with a good supervisor and so on. But some students like me and an average students, I do have to take a long way for me to be at my stage right now. So learning from my mistakes, sometimes I don't know that is a predatory journal at that one times, okay, at last 10 years ago, people not aware about predatory journal much on the, even university does not come up with specific rules and regulations. The lectures are being independent by their own and so on. So, but later we learn from one thing to another things and be aware. And I still remember when I pursued my PhD back then in 2014, I put my own oaths, okay? As a student, I will no longer send my paper to non-index journal, only to the Scopus and WS. From 2014 until now, I keep that promise. And some other recognized journal by the government, by our Ministry of Education, like ERA Index journals, okay? Some of it, okay? But because it's not that easy to complete a one paper writings. Lots of times involved and you have to read journals. So you need to feel that it will come a wasteful if you send your paper to not recognized journal and so on. So you waste your time. So that's why you put yourself a high standard from time to time. Okay, like myself, now I collaborate with international author who have the experience published in Q1, Q2, WS, because knowing my limits, I can't do it alone. So I humbly request them to be my co-authorships, and alhamdulillah, basically they agree and I learn more from them. So I'm sure but through these kinds of partnerships, then we can break through a better journals, okay, like WS, Q1 and Q2. Now, so this is just a comparison between thesis and articles. Some of you still pursuing your PhD, you should know that this is a very detailed one, comprehensive, right? But for journal articles, okay, we have the scope of journals that we have to ensure fit with our article writings, the themes and so on. And then there must be a blind reviewer process, and there is supposed to be a different section in the article, and we have word limits, the format, okay, we have to follow and so on. So I don't think I have to go through in detail for this one. Okay, and there are different types of paper that you can come up with, like the one that most commonly produced, being produced being in most of the journal, published by most journal is empirical paper. Why? Because a strong paper is supposed to have a statistical analysis. Okay, they have to be completed. So that's why sometimes it's not easy to publish a conceptual paper, but you can. But it's in terms of the availability of journal, good index one is quite limited. Okay, and then some paper based on case study, newsletter, like only 3 pages, very simple technique and so on. So even my supervisor have experience publishing this kind of journal. And then there are some journals that only focus on methodology. Maybe this is for those who work in S&T, science and technology area. And then some focus on theoretical, as I mentioned, the conceptual papers. Okay, and now when we talk about the paper writings, we have to understand actually what are the core value or what are the fundamentals behind writing up a good papers. So first of all, you have to address this question to yourself. Have you done something new and interesting? Because if you are just replicating a previous study without any additional modification, innovation, and so on, it will make the paper lacking in certain way that make the reviewer feel waste of time, especially if the reviewer is the good one. Okay, we never know. Maybe it's a professor from some developed countries on. So that's why we have to understand first, are we offering something new in our paper writings? Okay, and then before that, we look into a smaller questions here. Is there anything challenging in your work? Okay, challenging maybe perhaps like you are using the most current techniques or methods. Like if you're economics is like they change a lot in terms of the methods and techniques. The revolution is keep going on. It's like an iPhone. Like you always have this new technique updated, and if you didn't follow up this kind of new technique, you will left out. So if you go through a lot of recent paper in economics, the one that I adore so much is Prof. Dr. Shabas. He published thousands of paper, thousands of economics paper in various different area, with thousands of citations and so on. He always used the most recent techniques, and sometimes I also try to figure out where did he learn all these types of techniques, because it's hard for us to find sifus or gurus that have this kind of knowledge and offering workshop and so on, because sometimes people are being stagnant. If you know one method, you will only use that method. Like for maybe time series, panel data, only just JMM. Time series, maybe you just use a bit VECM or maybe ARDL, but there's no improvement. So when you are not going to the changing phases or by learning new techniques, so then your paper might not meet the highest quality, okay, needed by the reviewer. Okay. Now, is the work directly related to the current hot topics? Yeah, the current hot topics. Okay. So when we talk about hot topics, okay, remember this: the purpose of we doing the research is because an issues similar to the purpose of we writing for our thesis. Thesis. Without an issue, there's no need for a research. Okay, and the issue, there's a lot of issue. Okay, but in the world of publication and writing, you have to focus. You have to make yourself at the present time. Okay, you have to look into a more recent one, not trying to just replicate the old issues, something like that. So you yourself have to look into more recent issues based on the hot topics that happen nowadays, and then it will be more impactful. People always looking for a more recent issue. For example, like what we all go through in the previous few years until now, like pandemic COVID-19. So the lots of people are relating their research with implications of the pandemic COVID-19. So more readings and so on, then more citations. Okay. Now, have you provided solution to any difficult problem? So of course, from the papers that you come up with the modelings, and then you testifying with the specific methods, advanced method that produce very lots of insightful points, especially to the policymakers. So that kinds of result that you produce, you have to recommend it in very very specific one based on the outcomes, like the outcomes that you get from your outputs, so that your research is somehow able to give some ideas to the real policymakers. Usually, I always question myself, either my paper will be read by policymakers. So when I ask my friend who work in Ministry of Finance, Malaysia, how they come up with the budget reports, belanjawan, okay, budget reports, okay. So they admit that they go through the academics paper. They go through the academics paper from the good journals. They learn, they read about the theory, about the implication and so on. And sometimes they also get some points of policy recommendation from the academics paper. But this kind of thing is usually we can't see it. We can't see it much. But if you become a more prominent researcher, okay, you will be the one that will be someone that will be looked upon by these agencies of or this ministry. Like there's one time I published about income distributions, implications of the relationship between the income distributions and environmental quality in the context of Asian. So I never thought that this paper sparked interest of EPF, Employee Provident Funds, because Employee Provident Funds of Malaysia is taking care of the fund from the salary for the retirement purpose, but they really love into the new angles in terms of the income distribution and so on. So they read, but somehow we don't know how they cited and so on. It's because it's hard for us to find the citation from the industry, right? But I do aware that they do read, okay? So it's not like we just do our research publication and so on just for the sake of academics world. Somehow some other people do realize about our writing and read it, okay? Now, before you choose the articles, okay, this is again an overview. We will go for the full article as what I have said just now, because the full article, it will be much more better in terms of receiving acceptation in terms of reviewing process and so on. Those who are more experienced, maybe they can go to the letters. I don't have yet experience published in letters, but I maybe in the future, if my time is so constrained, maybe I have to learn how to write my paper in much more simple way, in just 3 pages letters. But it is also in the Scopus in that journal. You can see it. Okay. Now, this is one that I have told you just now. Okay, who are the readers of your papers? Those are specialists, multidisciplinary, general, international, or local. So yeah, when you write down whatever that you in your research project right now, just believe that your article do contribute some things. Okay, do contribute some things to any parts of segment of the society, or even from at the levels of governments. Now, choose the right journal. First, you have to choose only one journal at one point. Check on the aims and scope, must be the hot topics. Select the types of articles, and be aware of readerships. Who will read this? But I think even me myself as a researcher, I will not go through this readership, because if you go for the publication, usually we go for the publisher, right? Elsevier, Springer, Emerald, and so on. So we believe that, of course, the first group that will read our paper is academics, okay, academician itself, right? Now, and then again, this is just refresh for all of you. We have the layout they have to take care of, font size, referencing, and so on. So I don't want to talk about this. I believe that you have all this bit knowledge in terms of article writings. Now, there's general structures of manuscripts. Okay, usually, this is, I just want to share my strategies. Okay, usually in my research paper, I will have 5 authors, including me. Okay, 5 authors, because in my research paper, it will be divided into 5 sections, which is the introduction, the literature review, methodology, result and discussion, conclusion, and policy recommendations. Okay, so we have 5. Okay, so now I would like to say something that related to my own experience. So how I begin my research, okay? Usually, when I first, the one that come up with the idea to have the research collaboration together, I'm the one that have to go through the issue, look into the recent issue. Like for example, in 2020, Malaysia has been labeled as world dustbin because we receive a lots of waste, like plastic waste, all this out of nowhere, even from Saudi Arabia, from over the world, and it's being poured into Malaysia. Malaysia is the world dustbin. And at that time, I straight away come up with the ideas, maybe this is something to do with corruptions or governance. So I make a paper to testify the environmental quality model in Malaysia, the policy model in Malaysia, and having corruption perception index as one of the independent variables. And when I write down the issues, the introduction, I do address what this newspaper has been addressed, or this article and so on. So usually we look into the recent issues and what happened in our country, or maybe in ASEAN country, or whatever regions that you're interested with. Like my case, since I'm doing my PhD, I focus a lot, I'm focusing on Asian countries. So I want to be known as a researcher that involved a lot in ASEAN countries, especially the ASEAN member countries, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, Singapore, besides Malaysia, because I want to create my own brandings. I don't like simply choose any country that I want. Like suddenly I choose Alaska or something like that. No. I will very focus on my areas. Like, so for myself, my branding, I focus on Asian countries. Okay, so then as I go through the issues and then I search the model, look into a wide variables that's suitable to be the determinants for the pollutions in Malaysia at that times, and collect the data, ensuring that the data is available. So some data, some variable have different, we have to come across with different database if we want to collect for the data. So have to ensure that the data is sufficient. That's why it's very important for you to have the knowledge of analysis, okay? And then I make the analysis, and when the result is good, of course, and one things that I would like to stress on, be what we call integrity is very important. High integrity, okay, which means that you cannot manipulate the data, you cannot manipulate the outcomes. You have to present the real outcome from the techniques, the right techniques that you use. Because if you manipulate the outcomes, I believe that fabricate the outcome and so on, for the sake of having good outcomes and so on, I think you have dishonored yourself as a researcher. Okay, researcher, the passions of researcher is to tell the truth from the data. Okay, that's why another part of being a good researcher is that you need to have the passions to find the solution from the modeling that you come up with. So when I have this good result, and then I will start to invite my friends across the university, from private university to other public university, from my own country to another country. Okay, you had another one thing, being academician, we should know for every papers that we publish, who is the main author, who is the corresponding author, who is the author from the universities, the first author from each universities, because you have to know this is all having the same score. Okay, so that's why my technique to have a fair and square for everyone to have the same mark as corresponding author or as the main author is that to appoint everyone from different university. Everyone from different university. That is my style. I have published more than 100 papers. If you see from my papers, most of my paper, 5 authors from 5 different universities, either from local, either from Malaysia or other countries. And everyone will have a passion to complete the writing, because we know no one lose. Everyone is having the highest marks, because we carry our name from the university as the first one. So you should know that kind of rules and academic rules. Okay, Myra score. In Malaysia, we call Myra score, because there is a weightage. If you apply for promotion and so on, we do count who is the main author, who is the corresponding author, who is the first one from that particular university. So that is my style to boost the spirit. So that's why I will assign. So of course, I will go through each of these candidates, co-researcher that I have known from the networkings. I already know in terms of their strength. So my friend maybe from Unimap, he has a very good way in writing introduction. So I appoint him to do the introduction part. And my friend from another university, he good in doing literature review. So I appoint him doing literature review. So this is how I construct my teams, and then I invite them all into my WhatsApp groups. Okay, I have the topics, I give the result, the outcome. This is the outcome that we get. This is the rules. This is the task given to all of you. Okay, so being the corresponding authors, you have to manage in terms of getting back all the sections, and then we have to ensure the smooth transition from one section to another section, because we are using 5 different brains. So the smoothness of writing, we cannot feel that like the way we write introduction, it is like does not have connection with the way when you proceed with LR. There must be a smooth connection. So that's why research is a long process. Being a good researcher means that it's a continuous process. I never stop writing a paper since I finished my PhD. Okay, never stop. writing. Every time I finish write out one paper, I will take about maybe one month to finish 3 weeks to 1 month to finish one empirical paper. I will start another one, always like that. So that's why this is the reason why I keep publishing, and this will improve my citations on a little bit. And of course, it's a process of for me to go through to get a higher citations on. Okay, so this is my style. Okay, I'm sure that other people have their own way, but I receive a lots of benefit from my strategy. Okay, so but that's why, but if you go for research writing and so on, be smart. Be smart. So if you work alone, you might get a faster result, but the outcome is like just for a temporary one. But if you work smart, it will be very prolonged one. So I really appreciate all my partnership with my friends here. We apply grant together and so on, and so we receive a lot of benefit in terms of that. Okay, so this is what I've said to you just now, because I'm telling you now, me as a secondary data researcher. So that's why I start with data collection and then put it into the table, figure and so on. When we have confirmed result and so on, it's good one. And then method and so on, it can be before and after, okay? And then we go for the rest, okay? So it's a top to bottom as shown in this list, okay? It's, we are not start with introduction. We are not start with, the introduction part, we just go into smart reading, preliminary through the observation. We go through and so on, and then we find the model, find the data, make the result, come up with the result, and then we start officially. So usually I'm using that way of writing the papers. Now, important features of an article: content must match the scope of the journal. This is very important. If you send to the wrong journal, not much with the scope, you will waste your time. I have the experience because not aware of the scope of the studies. The quality paper must be sufficiently high in terms of the writing, the method, execution, which means the way you write down and so on must have a smooth flow and so on. So that's why, like my case, to tell you honestly, all my research partners are those who are at the same age as mine, 36, 38, 35. Still, we are still energetic. We still have deep passion in doing research. So all our works is being done very fast. Okay, we don't waste time. Even I'm WhatsApp my friends sometimes at 4 a.m. Sometimes at Saturday, Sunday when I have time to do research, I WhatsApp them anytime. Then they will reply. So having a research partner that also passionate in research writing is a plus point when you want to have a team of researchers. Okay, now result must be novel, which means that if you have some result produce contradictory outcomes, contradict outcome that against the theory, actually that's supposed to give you some kinds of a spice, some kinds of spark as a researcher, how you will justify your outcomes. Usually I find this kind of challenging fill up my my fuel as a researcher when I having this kind of very unusual connection between the DV and IV and so on. So far I managed to go through having the discussion with my friends and so on. We come up with justification and so on, and it feels good. So it doesn't mean that when we write the paper, the outcome all must follow the theoretical findings. Sometimes we do produce something that against the findings, right? The theoretical part. So that is the part that you should be triggered out to try your best to explain based on the capacity or the scope of your research at that articles. Now, result must be significant enough to be read and published, and it should be complete enough for someone else to repeat your work. You do have some room for the improvement, but this is just a suggestion in your article writing for you to suggest for what the future recommendation. Usually it's supposed to be in the thesis writing, and then explain why and justify the procedure were done, scope, future direction, and so on. Okay, so I will not go through everything. Now, we have these titles. At the first one, keep your title short and then minimum possible. It really depends on your style of your writing itself lah. Okay, somehow even I myself do have quite long titles. Sometimes it involve 3 sentences, but overall, catchy title do helps to get to spark the interest of the reviewer to read your article. So some of the researchers in Malaysia do have related their title with the song, the old melody, like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, How Up, something like that. So I don't know, it's based on someone creativity and so on to make the title more interesting. And because I come up with lots of papers, sometimes I try to not having the similar title of what I have been done before. So it will need me to be more creative in come up with a new way of representing my idea of my research into a new kind of title not existed in the database, for example. Okay, so that's why even the title will be discussed among my my co-researcher in the WhatsApp group or in the online meetings. Okay, and then the title, this is just the tips. It must contain the subject of the paper, the main issue is what, accurate, attractive, and then avoid abbreviations. And then this is of course depend on the field of study. Okay, and the name of affiliation, I think I don't have to read this. Abstracts. Okay, now we go for abstract. The abstract advertise your article. Researcher read the abstract first. Reviewer also read the abstract first. You can see the honesty in your abstracts. Okay, you are telling that yeah, we can. If you at one point of time when you become when you involve lots of reviewing the papers, okay, you can differentiate the how you can see the style of writing from these writers. Is it how does you feel with the abstracts when you read the abstract? Is it just a replication? Is it something that really in urgency, very honest view there? So I'm sure that one day I also can have this kind of ability to try on that. Contain everything in the articles, no technical jargon, no citation, brief and specific, and this is just for abstracts. Okay, and the content for the introduction, you have this few of it. Okay, problem statement, not problem statement, and the issue. Okay, the issue must be addressed in your introduction parts. Okay, and scope, limitation, future direction is also just a recommendation, not really necessary in the research paper, and so on. Okay, this is just the content overall in your paper, and the result. This is the thing that you have to focus on: the main findings, statistical result, performance, related equation or theorems, figure table, and level and so on. Okay, so this is the part of the analysis and outcomes. And then the discussion is where you have to relate your result to the objective or the purpose or the aim of the research. Okay, and then you need to learn how to interpret your result well, technically, statistically. Okay, and then with the justification, remember this, not that it's compulsory for every outcomes that you have to like link with the previous study. Sometimes you do introduce a new one, so there is no such as no citation yet, so you have to be confident in the way you write up at that kind of when you deal with the new kinds of model, for example, or variable that you believe so. Okay, easy to conclude from the result, compare your result with other research work. So this is the discussion part, and then this is for the conclusion. It's highly recommended that the conclusion should have this element: relate to the objective, mention limitation, work in progress, recommendation, future work. So recommendation are the tips that I received from prominent researcher. If it is good if you relate with the real agency, name the agency that involved in that specific policy, not just a mere general kind of policy, that kind of way. So you have to be more specific, similar to the thesis writing. Okay, then will be more meaningful. And then acknowledgement, I want to skip this. Is the things, if you have grants and so on, you will go for this one. Okay, let me say a bit about the world of publication right now, because you see even the publication nowadays is a business. Okay, we have the traditional one without paying one, but The disadvantage, it will take long time, sometimes 1 year to 2 years, as you having lots of KPI to achieve. You have to choose the journals, the good one that can publish maybe within 6 months or 8 months, but they incur some kinds of cost. Okay, so I will go for both. Okay, I will go for both, and even my approach of writing paper is also based on quantity and quality. How do I define quantity and quality? Quality is WS Q1 Q2. That is how I measured quality. It takes longer time to be finished because it will be much more intense. The novelty is much more real and so on. And I believe that that kinds of paper will take 1 or 2 years to get published. And at the same time, I have another teams that focus on quality, the quantity. Quantity, as how I define, is based on Scopus Index Q1 and Q2, where we can finish writing up 1 paper each month, 1 or 2 paper each month, and send it to Scopus Q1, Q2. Either it's paid or not, it doesn't matter as long as it's Q1, Q2 and recognized, and we have the grants. So how do I get grants? Usually, it's not always that I get grants from my university, okay? But I learned that from my neighboring country, for example, Indonesia, okay? If you collaborate with researcher, academics from top 10 university in Indonesia, or maybe not top 10, any university from Indonesia, that well-known one, they will have unlimited amounts of fund for you to use to publish your papers. Okay, unlimited, because Indonesia at this time is pursuing ranking, and they have a huge amount of fund that can be used to finance when you want to say, for example, you want to send your paper to NDPI sustainability WSQ1. It costs you 8,000, 10,000 Swiss francs. Of course, you don't have that much of money, right? It's very expensive. Okay. No. In Malaysian ringgit, it's about 10,000. Swiss franc, I'm not sure, 2,000. Yeah, 2,000 Swiss franc and so on. So do a smart partnership with research partner from other universities that have access a huge fund. Like I said, Indonesia. So, but the partnership must be win-win situation. That's why when I dealt with my friend from Indonesia, even I don't have any grants, I still managed to publish in the good journal, because when I have finished writing my papers, okay, I have fund from them to send my paper for English proofread, and I also have fund from them to publish in the good journals. Whatever the cost it, they will publish. As long as the deal is like this, either put them as the main or corresponding author. Just having that deal first. Okay, it's a smart partnership, right? So if I'm not the main one, my partner from Indonesia become main. But of course, in return, I become the corresponding author. So it will be win and win situation, because both want to achieve the highest score for the MIRA, for the QS ranking and so on. So that's why I do this kind of thing. That's why like Indonesia have generous amounts of fund. If you're able to know any lectures from Indonesia, the top 10 especially, like Universitas Indonesia, Universitas Airlangga, Universitas Gajah Mada, you have access to this fund, and then you were able to achieve the quantity and quality at the same time. When you have unlimited funds, right, from them. Okay, now this is the references. Okay, now what we will look for the paper, what can we learn from reading this paper? So that's why the abstract is important, and the introductions. And I believe I have the same ideas. The issue, the problem statement is the heart of the thesis, also is the heart of your article. If your issue is good, is interesting, is have the urgency, is relevant, is related to the current policy and so on, then it will become relevant. Your paper will become relevant. Okay, so that's why the way you write down your introduction must be very professional one. How to write a good introduction? Go through all these Q1, Q2 WS paper published in Elsevier Science Direct. Learn the style of writing from them. How they start with the theme, the broad issue one into narrow one, lots of facts there, and then they create some holes there where past study does not able to figure out yet, and so on. And then there's an issue behind this and so on. And then they create a theoretical and so on. So it's like that. Okay, even I as a researcher, when I come up with a new topic, usually I go through the observations of the research paper first. I will look into 1 or 2, 3 papers that the recent one published in the recent year that fit with my ability in terms of the techniques used and so on. And then I will print it. That will be my premier articles that I will go through inch by inch from one part to one part and assimilate all the way of their style of writing and then put in my own writing. So it's not just a mere copy and paste. You have to remember that it's not just a mere copy and paste, but this involve like your understanding how you link, like as mentioned, maybe this paper is not focusing on Asian. They are focusing this issue in European country, but you found that this issue has not been addressed in the context of Asian. So you need some 1 or 2 paper, the good one, to as a references. So that will give you the points. You see, you read how they write down the introduction, how they address the issue. When they address the issue in that country, you will now try to investigate the issue in your countries and write. So you have that kind of formats already based on how they did it. Okay, so I never do research just simply type like that without any paper besides me. Okay, there must be at least 2 or 3 paper that I go through, linked with my based on my context of study, like for example Asian and so on, and understand what I write. Okay, so is it worth knowing? So what? Okay, so what, this is a questions. All right, so of course when you have that address of the issue and so on, of course you want to come up with the solutions and so on. The solution must be relevant. You have the technique wise used and so on. That based on my own experience, even when I send to the Q1, Q2, WS and so on, some of the researchers some of the reviewer are not look much on the techniques or the advance of the techniques, but they will look into other aspects. The introduction, okay, the methodology. Are you proposing a new model? Which theory that you expand? Okay, so something like that. So the theory is hard, it's usually the theory is not the one that they will look into much. They will look into other angles of the paper. So this is based on my observation being the researcher's part. So usually that's why there's a reason why sometimes even my papers, I'm still using RDL and so on, is accepted in a good Scopus Q1 and Q2. Okay, and does it create an impact? For example, ISI and so on. So of course, if you have produced a good research, you do have these impacts things. Okay, and then I would skip the ethics. I'm sure that being a researcher, be honest, put highest integrity, no data manipulations. I know people don't know what you're doing. People can see you are doing your job in front of your laptops. But believe me, if you fake your data and so on, fabricate, and then you publish, and then I don't know, but I feel that will you will have this hole, the emptiness in your heart. Like you do this just for the sake of having the KPI achieved and having a good paper, but there's no honesty behind your findings. So I don't know, being a passionate researcher, of course, that is the most thing have to be avoided, fabricating the data and so on. Okay, so I think in terms of ethics, you decide fabricating data, plagiarism should be avoided, and so on. Okay, so avoid plagiarism. So I think you have to know the consequences of plagiarism, especially if you are students or even you are the lecturers. You will having a bad image later on if you be caught with this plagiarism and so on. Okay. Author's responsibility, identify the source of funding for your work and acknowledge them, of course. If you have more than one fundings, address it. Like my case, I got funding of proofreading service from University A and finance of APC from University B. Do address that. Okay, you don't have a problem in that ways. Okay, make declaration. treat publication staff reviewer with respects when you deal with the staff, editor and so on. Okay, do not take critical review personally. I receive sometimes very strike lightning kinds of point of review from this reviewer, saying that my waste of my time reading your paper rubbish. I don't know who are them, but you see, we have to understand they are doing for free of charge. So of course, if we publish, if we send a not so good quality paper, we waste their times. But of course, this is all the journey. Being a good researcher, you have to go through all this process. Not as it compulsory, but of course, that's the way people usually upgrade themselves. Okay. After publication, inform the publisher that you have discovered an error. This is important. Like my case, last 2 days, I do address the editor in terms of my affiliation and so on. Like the missing word and here and there, I have to be, that thing must be perfect. The affiliation cannot be wrong and so on. So all person involved in the publication of your paper are ethically responsible. So avoid free rider, avoid those who just put their name without any contribution, or just contribute money also cannot. Okay, they have the contribution in these papers. Okay, that's why usually I give chance for new members to join my teams, and I will look into their levels of commitment. But if they don't put their high discipline in writing the paper together, I will never invite this person again. So that's why the teams that I have now is those that I already collaborate for a few years, that I know their strengths, that we are very, even I never meet them face to face. Okay, I never have the chance to meet to face because of all this COVID-19 and so on. But we always meet through online and so on. But I do wish to meet them one day. Okay, now plagiarism. So I think this is the last few slides. 5 habits of effective academic writers. Write regularly. Yeah, you cannot stop your writing. There's no honeymoon in writing. I do have break when I go for holiday with my family. I still check my email if I got some feedbacks. You see, when we continuous writings, we know that some paper will be accepted first. Maybe some will need a long process of review, or some need revision and so on. So that's why keep on writing for one paper to another paper. Sometimes I start with 3 papers at the same time. And then after finish the paper, I start with another team. So that's why, for example, like last year I published about 22 papers. And then I keep on writing. And this year I already published, I just get published 3 papers, and another 5 coming up, and another 11 under review. And now I already start another team for another papers. Keep going, okay? Never, like I said, never stop. And I do always find my time to finish my task, because you see, you are not writing the whole paper by your own. You have the smart way of dividing the task. So everyone having small section in the paper. So you cannot complain you don't have time. Maybe you don't have time if you don't have the partners. When you have to write alone by your own. So at one point of time, at my stage right now, I feel comfortable writing with my friends. But of course, I believe that one day, even I believe in my own capability that I can publish my own paper as sole authorship. But I still not yet going to that stage. I still going to massive publication quantity, okay, and also focusing on quality. And then set realistic goals. You see, realistic goals, you know your ability, you know your team ability, you know how many papers that you can achieve every year and so on. So this is realistic goal you have to pursue. Start writing before they are ready. Okay, sometimes we have to, this, I cannot say that every time when I write down my papers in my laptop because of I want to do it. Sometimes I really put myself, okay, just like I don't know the English words. I make myself just focus on writing like unwillingly, something like that. Okay, so because I have this goals, time goals, and so on. So that's why I just do it. Even have to push myself. Okay, and then seek help on early draft and spend time on revision. Yes, of course, revision is very important. Okay, and this is the certain techniques by this book. Writing your journal article in 12 weeks, designing your plan for writing week 1, starting your article, advancing your argument, selecting your journal, reviewing the selected article, literally strengthening your structure, presenting your evidence, opening, concluding your article, giving, getting, using feedback, and so on. So I'm sure actually you are notes when we talk about writing a papers on we have many style of ways to write a papers. Like maybe the style that I've been used now that I told to all of you, maybe some of you follow it or you have similar as my style, but some maybe have different style and so on. So whatever style, it must fit with your way of conducting the research and so on. Okay, and your partner also have this comfortability with the rules set by your teams. Okay, and so final advice: never hurry to write paper. I never hurry to write paper. Yes, remember whatever paper that gets published in the journal, representing the quality, the image of you as academics. So especially if your postgraduate student want to publish paper, you cannot simply let them do whatever they want. You as a supervisor, we have to go through in detail how they write down the article, because if the loss of flaw there, it will present our image as well. So that's why never hurry lah. Okay, you have to check, revise, and so on. Okay, if you are a student, let your supervisor read the article before submission. This is very important. Okay, you cannot just put your supervisor name and without letting your supervisor know. Okay, because you are putting their name there. Okay, if your supervisor and your student is writing a paper, please read the paper before the submission. Do not plagiarize. A good paper is not technically good, but it contents and data are good. Check the grammar and spelling mistakes. I think that's all. It's almost 1 hour. I open up my session to Q&A. Oh, okay.
Dr. Rizwan.
Yes, yeah, Prof.
Professor Bala here. So I follow your what do you call social media all the time, huh?
Yeah.
And I think we both one of the active social media guys lah. I think especially LinkedIn. And I think one of the way I saw you, the way you promote yourself, you're not boasting yourself actually. We're not boasting. Academician never boast ourselves, but you are actually promoting yourself, and I very admire you. All the things that achievement you put there, and a lot of people follow you now. See that. So my question is, what you think? You see, my time, there's no Facebook, there's no LinkedIn, there's no nothing. I'm just relying on the by email or just like visiting. To the conference. But today, you see, you got all these things, and you make yourself. You're very young. Yeah, I follow you because you are so young, very energetic, and I follow you everywhere. I think we saw sometime. I think in Cyber Day, I'm not sure lah. Where you came for as an external examiner. So how can you can do it? Is can you share the secret behind this? How can?
Okay. Right. Thank you,
please.
Okay, Prof. Okay. There's one things that I observe among the lecturers in Malaysia, okay, and how actually my way is a bit different from majorities of the lecturer that I observe so far. Most of the lecturer having the mindset of waiting for the opportunity. But in my case, you cannot wait for opportunity. You have to create the opportunity. You have to be one step ahead, creating the opportunity. So that's why, like if you see my records, being visiting fellows, visiting professor, adjunct professor, and so on, I usually will start with the research networking first to get known myself to be someone that have these qualities of researcher, producing paper with them and so on. And then at one point, when you have gathered certain amounts of experience, because being academics, not only that you deal with the research or teaching, you also involve with consultation, the development, student development, university programs, a lot of things. We have like 7 to 8 things that we have to do as academics. So when we have all this exposure, in my case, I feel that there must be something with me that I can offer to the others. Like for example, when I joined the innovation competition, okay, usually when we look into this competition, we always think that at that time, back then 3-5 years ago, those joining the innovation competition, they must come up with the real products or prototype and so on. But I challenged myself. I proposed my PhD framework, and my policy recommendation as my products in innovation competition, international innovation competition. So when I propose it, I make it into the poster, what I have achieved and so on, and then I receive the highest awards at that tournaments, okay? Special award, platinum award and so on. So that points, I break the norms that even a research paper, you can translate into an innovation products and you can win something like gold and so on. So that's why I love to try to involve in many things first, gather a lot more and more experience until at one point of time, okay, when I feel that I have some qualities in myself that I can offer, that's the point I gathered my confidence to ask my fellow friends from Indonesia, from Turkey, or maybe from other countries, Philippines, Timor-Leste, and so on, is there any opportunity for me to be invited as a visiting scholar or visiting professor, so where I can pour in all my experience? And to tell you honestly, Prof. Bala, when I promoted myself as the visiting professor and so on, I never think about payment. I never think about payment as my something like a requirement and so on. This is all for the sake of love to share, love to give a new idea to the academics, what they can do, how they can diversify, like from your research, how they can reach another parts of accomplishment being the academics, like maybe from the research, they learn more about analysis and then they can go into consultation, and from innovation, and then go a lots of things, a branch of that. So that's why, and then yes, I agree that nowadays we have the networks that we connected one another, and I always look into my followers' backgrounds. Okay, this I am very comfortable to share or whatever that I achieve academically in my network, in my Facebook or in my LinkedIn account, because I already said that my follower is all academic lines. So that's why I don't feel strange, because every research, every academics will have that things as well in their life as academics. So when we share, okay, we just like just want to ensure we are visible enough. And another one thing, maybe some people might mistake that that they might feel that I am quite feel so proud of myself, always show my successful stories on. But believe me, I never feel that feel I'm better than others, because I follow so many good professors that, for example, Prof. Zaharin, he got a full professor at the age of 34 years old. He just a local graduate from the Sabah, Malaysia, and then he's the youngest professor in UPM, get his professor at the age of 34 years old. And then I follow Prof. Bashar from UPM as well. My network is not only from my field, but also those from other fields, SNT, and they are far more better than me. So that's why when I put something about my success story, I never feel that I'm better than others, because I always aware there are always other people better than us. So I don't know, some people will get my message, maybe they get inspired, or maybe they get to know me. So I have more networking. That's why from my networks, I get invited being the external examiner for PhD student for the private university, panel assessor for the courses, degree, master PhD from private universities, and then sometimes I got involved in a lot of opportunity being a speaker. So using this channel in the way to make ourselves visible, and then we get more opportunity, because I also only working in the in just a small branch of UiTM in very small village in Malacca. So if I'm not being visible, how people can know about me? How people can realize about who I am, what research I am done, and so on. So that's why when I have more vast networking from my social media, I got all these chances being invited as keynote speaker and so on. Sometimes this is when we make this social media in the good way, I mean in the right way, so we get all this usefulness. But the things that I always aware, in Malaysia culture, most of the people, they like to share about the success story, but they lack in terms of sharing the tips of how they get that achievements. So to make myself somehow relevant to my follower, that's why I'm not only sharing about my success story, but I also share my strategy. I think you see my post in my Facebook. I even share about how to get ready for the interview for associate professor. Never one in Malaysia that bluntly share about the experience of interview of for the associate professor in the post of social media. But I've been thanked by many lecturer from many university in Malaysia because of my post. And I also post about strategy to win gold medal in innovation, strategy to write, and so make ourselves um, um, useful to others, okay, make ourselves beneficial and useful to others. So I think the more we give to others, the more we get. That is one I actually experienced. The more we share without thinking about monetary rewards or maybe thinking about something, we just share for the sake of being a true academics that we love to share. So I think maybe from this my style, I receive more. Macam that's the things. I receive more from God. All these opportunities.
Yeah, I think Aruna Ibrahim wants to ask something. Aruna, you can ask our professor. If you have any question, you can ask.
Yeah, please.
Hello, yes, anybody can ask questions, and Dr. Abdul Rahim will answer your questions. Please.
Sir, good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, clear.
Yes, sir. I have no questions, but just now you said that you are posting lot of posts in social media.
Yeah.
And I want to just follow you. Can I get your address?
Oh, okay. I will put it in the chat my name, so you can just follow me there. It's already okay. All right. Chat isn't available this time. Maybe I will send my my name to the secretariat and phone number later.
Sir, whether you are having any page?
Oh, I'm not involving. I'm not having my. I do have my personal websites, but last year is the time that I updated. But actually, I'm much more focused on in LinkedIn and Facebook. That is my platform for networking for all academics around the world. So you just type my name, Abdul Rahim Rizwan, then you can follow me there.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Okay. Dr.
Yes. Please.
Good afternoon from Ghana. I'm Harun Ibrahim.
Yeah, hi.
In your very
All right.
meticulous presentation, I have really learned a lot from you. Yes. In your presentation, you stressed much
Thank you.
on collaboration, which is very, very key in this 21st century, because without collaboration or networking, it is really going to be a problem in the next decades.
Mhm.
My first question is, what factors or parameters will challenge you to write your own paper in the future? Though you have all the people to help you, what factors will challenge you to write your own paper in the future? Because in your presentation, I can phantom that you have no plans of doing it yourself for now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Actually, I have these dreams. I always believe that one day I will have more sole authorships. Okay. In writing paper, maybe perhaps not now. Maybe after I got my professorship in the futures. Why? Because at this moment, I feel that working together with friends that have the same ambitions, that have same passions and so on, is way much more meaningful. Like I love to see not me myself grown in terms of our career advancement, but I also love to see even my friends, even I don't even ever have chance to meet them face to face because they are working from other university, but working with them make me feel more energetic, more pleasure, okay, having the ideas, sharing the ideas and so on. So that's why I think if I want to say about challenging or in the futures, maybe it's I don't feel it's a challenging, but I think it's in terms of my scope or my focus now is more into developing a group of researcher moving into our career advancement together. So more into the togetherness at this point of time.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Abdul, my second question is, in your presentation, you made mention of turning our research paper into innovative or innovation products.
Hello?
Okay, your background being an...
Okay.
Yes, can you hear me? Please, can you hear me?
Yeah, please proceed.
Okay, so yeah, so in your presentation, you made mention that we can turn our research paper into innovation products. That is, with your background, looking at your background with international economics, it means that you are well vested in marketing products, that you have very, very good knowledge. Can you give us, with your background, can you give us how can we turn our research paper into marketable products apart from online? Thank you.
All right. So there's a way. Okay, when we talk about innovation, okay, the innovation based on our field of study, okay, might be from our academics papers. Like my case, just to correct you, I'm focusing a lot of foreign direct investment policy and trade liberalization. That is actually my identity, being as international economic lecturers. So, what kinds of product that I produce is a policy papers that being handed to the ministers to be followed. It's followed by the Asian countries. So that is my final outcome. The handbooks of getting the green FDI. Okay, so when your products, despite it's just a policy, but it's being used by industry, that is somehow is also what we call as innovation. It's an innovation product. Despite it's not something that commercial value, but in the sense of it is much more practical. It's much more practical, and actually it is exceeding impact, even an impact factors, because policy paper usually will produce a greater heights. It's because your paper, your outcomes is being practically being followed at the country levels. So that's why to reach that stage is not easy. So there's a lot of things that I have to get prepared before I come into that stage. But okay, but if you said about marketable products, okay, being academics, we need to learn versatility or diversifications. Like maybe I do have in my way of teaching in my class, I have introduced apps, smart apps to learn economics using apps from handphones. Okay, and then I do some small study research how these apps has helped to improve the understandings of my students and improve the grades of my students. And then this app is also developed by my friend from other faculty of computer and science and so on. So then these apps can create monetary value if it's being sold in application and so on. So that is another way if you want to turn your from your academics, your area into a meaningful product. So actually there are many ways, like you cannot say we cannot say that only from the paper, but we can also create something that related to our task that we go through every day.
Okay, Dr. Abdul Rahim, thank you for your
Yeah.
your fantastic answers. Today I have learned another way of generating money from my research articles. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
This free consultation
Welcome.
for us, we appreciate it. Yes. In your presentation, Dr. Abdul Rahim.
Yeah.
In your presentation, the last 2 to 3 slides, you posted a book by an author. I didn't get the full name of the author. Yes, I want to get the full name of the author, and then where can we get the book to buy? Those of us who are interested.
Okay. Actually, this book is a very old one. It's 1990 something. I even because I also get this slide from my friends from other universities, so I'm not really sure, but maybe there's online versions. But I will share my slide to the organizer, those who contact me through WhatsApp. Maybe you can have the slide later on, and you can check the name of the authors of the book. Mr.
Okay,
Dr.
so,
Haruna,
please,
Mr. Haruna?
can you share your... Yes, thank you. Can you share your email address with us?
I cannot type something that here in chat. I don't know why, but okay. My email address Rahim, RAHIM 670 at uitm.edu.my. Okay, Rahim 670 at uitm.edu.my. Okay, you can. All right, sure.